Hello everyone, thank you. Welcome to another Facebook Live. Thank you for meeting me early. I know 11 o'clock is not our usual time, but I have a commitment at 1 and I still wanted to meet with you guys this week to talk to you. So while we're waiting for you guys to hop on board, and people may not have even gotten my message that we were doing it early today, so I hope we have some people today. Either way, you can always watch the playback. But I had a couple of questions pop up, one from last week, one that just popped up this week, and just a couple of things I just want to share with you guys. So we'll just talk a little bit at the beginning, wait for other people to hop on. Oh, hello people, hi. So the first thing is I just want to talk a little bit about what I was up to this week as an actor. So something I always ask my actors at the beginning of class is, what action did you take around acting this week? Because here's the thing, we think that sometimes, I got an agent, and so now I'm just going to wait for the auditions and fame and fortune to roll in. And what we don't realize is that there's all this sorts of invisible work and stuff that people really maybe never even realize we're up to, that actually contributes long term to us developing our craft and having success. So hello Joseph, hello Christina, hi. So let's see, this week I had a voiceover audition. I had an audition for a commercial, both taped, of course, because of the world we live in. I had an anime job this week, which was so much fun. I haven't done anime in a super long time, and fate just put me in the way of a director who brought me on board to have me come in and do some stuff. And so, knock on wood, hopefully I'll be doing a lot more anime very soon in the future. It's a completely different skill set. That's the funny thing about acting, is people think, oh, okay, I'm just going to learn how to act and I'm an actor, right? But there are all these sort of subgenres within the acting world. There's theater, there's film, there's television, there's commercials, there's improv, there's stand-up, there's although stand-up, it's becoming very close to storytelling. More like true acting maybe than it used to be, and voiceover is its own world, and even in the voiceover world there are all these sorts of subgenres. So it was really fun to do anime again. I filmed a short film, and that was really fun because we had about 3 hours to do 60 shots, and the dialogue was really, really minimal, but it was a marathon of emotions, as they said, to me. And so anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was a challenge and it was a lot of fun, and yes, we were safe social distancing. Hello Robin Jones, nice to see you. Hey Charles Bailey. Oh wait, Charles, I don't know how that's possible, but I'm so glad you're here. Hi Charles. Anyway, so just two things that don't necessarily have to do with acting that I did this week, that I took action on, that I want to share, but they do. Because really, oh hey, there's my alarm going off. Acting is all about representing life honestly, right? And to represent life honestly, we have to look at life honestly, right? So anything that furthers our ability to look at life honestly actually helps us as actors. So I gave a presentation. There's a role-playing group that I work with out of the UK, and we have monthly calls just to kind of keep everybody in touch and talk about kind of what's shifting in the industry, until we can all get back live and in groups and travel to do what we do again. And so I gave a presentation. Hello Cody. I gave a presentation on Brene Brown's Braving the Wilderness, and if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it, because it really has us take a long hard look at how we behave as individuals in our communities and socially and globally, and where we fit into the machinations of that. And then going back to that whole, why do people do what they do? It takes a real honest look at that, and of course it makes you take a real honest look at yourself. And last but not least, I watched RBG, and I was crying within the first 5 minutes, and I think that this should be required viewing for every school-aged boy and girl, because what an extraordinary journey Ruth Bader Ginsburg had, and what an enormous impact. So if you have not seen that, please watch it. I believe it's on Netflix. I had tickets to go see it at Sawyer Yards, the drive-in movie, but I was wiped out, so we just watched it on television, and it was freaking fantastic. Yep, Cody, you're right. Acting is living life freely. So, okay. So all that to say is there's always plenty that you can be doing. If you're not doing this already, y'all, be practicing your cold reading 10 minutes a day and read at least one script a week. The more you read scripts, the more you'll understand how to read scripts. I can't emphasize this enough. If there's anything that I work with actors on more than anything, it is to look at the script and actually see what's there. Because all the time I'll have an actor come in and work with me and they've read the script and they actually literally do not see what's right in front of their face. But the more you read scripts, the more you'll understand how to read scripts, and you'll understand every bit of the story because it's all there. It's all there. Playwrights and screenwriters know what they're doing, but it's up to us to develop the eyes to see what's on the page. Okay, so question from last week. Talk about cover letters. Okay, so here's the thing. In any market that you're in where you need to seek agency representation or you're seeking a manager, you're going to want some sort of letter of introduction. And the mistake I see a lot of people make, and I think they do this as well in meetings. So in Los Angeles, I don't know how many of you guys have done anything in the Los Angeles market, but a lot of times you'll just have one-on-ones with the casting director. They just want to sit down and they want to get to know you, okay? And I watched this kid sit down with the casting director at a coffee shop, and all he did was lean forward and regurgitate his resume all over her. And I thought, she isn't learning a damn thing about him other than the fact that he feels the need to prove himself by regurgitating his resume, okay? Somebody wants to know what your resume looks like, guess what? They're going to look at your resume. But when you're looking at a cover letter or you're looking at a one-on-one, a meeting with a casting director, they want to get to know you, because once they understand your essence and sort of what you're about, they're in a far better position to be able to cast you, okay? Same thing with a cover letter. You don't want to just regurgitate what is already on your resume, right? You want to give them an insight into who you are, all right? And so this is typically the way I would suggest structuring a cover letter, a letter of introduction, whether this is to a theater, this is to a casting director, this is to a manager, this is to an agent, and typically, the most of the times we see this is with an agency representation. Okay, and it's something like, hello, my name is so-and-so, here is why I want to be with your agency. So we can never forget that this is like a job interview, right? And so when you go into interview for a job, they're going to want to know that you know a little bit about the company, right? They don't want you to go in and go, well, I don't really know anything about Exxon, but I don't know, I saw your ad in the paper, right? Not that anyone finds jobs by looking at ads in the paper anymore. Maybe they do. I don't know. I haven't looked for a job. So, but that's the thing. It's like you want to research that agency and you want to know why you want to be with them, and you want to be able to express that to the agency. Secondly, you want to talk about why you'd be a good fit, right? Now, this may be a place to talk about yourself a little bit in terms of what you're up to, right? So again, it's not about regurgitating your resume, but what it is about is, I've been a theater actor for 20 years and I really want to transition into film and television, and I've been taking classes with so-and-so for 6 months to develop my on-camera skills, and I feel ready to move into that world, right? So it gives us some idea of what you're up to and why you think that this is an appropriate move for you at this time, right? And if you're just switching agents, and by the way, don't burn bridges. Just don't do it. It's a small community. People know, people talk, don't burn bridges, right? So if you're leaving agencies and you want to go to a new agency, just say, I'm so grateful for everything else, for everything, so-and-so agency did for me, but I feel like I'm ready to head in a new direction, and I think your agency is the way to go, okay? And then lastly, you can talk about why it's a good deal for them, right? I'm easy to work with, I'm punctual, I'm known for my excellence, I have a job that has flexibility, so I can go to auditions at the drop of a hat. It's not hard for me to get to auditions. I can travel for auditions, if that's the case for you. I have family who lives in these certain satellite, cities, so I can work local hire in Atlanta. I can work local hire in New Mexico. I can work local hire in Dallas or Austin or wherever. Things like that are selling points, because here's the thing. Remember, if you don't work, your agent doesn't make money, right? They never take money unless you are working and they get a commission, okay? Now they might, you know, like my agent, if you want to have a presence on their website, you pay a small fee so that they can maintain the website. That's a little bit different, right? That's just marketing, okay? But for the most part, if you don't book, they don't get paid, right? So it's in their best interest to book you, to help you get booked on stuff, but you've got to be available to be booked should you get the role. So anyway, that is cover letter 101. The other thing about it is within the cover letter, if it is digital, okay, if you're sending an email, you want to embed a couple of headshots, right? And you want to send it to yourself a couple of times, right? You want to make sure they're very small, because believe me, when I was helping in casting, an awful lot of times, you know, the casting director would say, send me a headshot no later, no bigger than 70 megabytes, right? Somebody wouldn't pay attention, and you would try to open up their picture and all you saw was an eyebrow, right? Because they sent a huge file because they didn't pay attention, right? So embed a couple of photographs so they can see right off the bat what you look like, what your essence is, right? And then you want to send a link, not an attachment. You want to send a link to your demo reel or your 2 monologues or whatever actual media you're using to submit to the agency, right? Don't send a bunch of attachments, because people are wary of that because they don't want to get a virus, right? So upload it to YouTube with a password, or upload it to Vimeo with a password, and send them an actual link, okay? When I did my scholarship contest recently, I had a few people just kind of send me a file and it wasn't sent properly, and I did ask for a link, but they sent me a file and it wasn't sent properly, so I couldn't look at it, right? And so if you don't submit things properly, you know, sometimes they just move on, right? And you've lost an opportunity because of a technical thing, and you don't want that to happen. Okay, great. By the way, feel free to load me up with your questions, but I have another question that I'm going to answer real quick, and I'm refreshing my page to see if there are any other questions at this moment. So, hi Karen, how are you? So I hope I'm saying that right, and if not, I'm not, please correct me. Let's see. Okay, great. So Robin Jones had a question that he dropped in my comments yesterday, I think it was. And let me see. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it verbatim so that I get it right, because, you know, Robin will fuss at me, and that will be no good. When you're doing a play, what engages you first, the story or the character? Why? Which is a fantastic question. Okay, it's Karen. Okay, great, got it. Okay, thank you, Karen, for correcting me. Let's see. Oh, I just realized I don't have my light on. Oh, hi. Hi. Now you can see me better. I was all in shadows before. Robin, that's a really great question. Often I will read a play because either I love the playwright or because I've heard about that particular play. If I'm looking at it as an actor potentially being in the play, I look at the role, and I look at what role I just want to dive into, okay? If I'm just reading the play, I tend to get grabbed by the relationship between 2 characters, or the question, the central question that the play asks, okay? So like I did a play a few years ago called Time Stands Still, Daniel Margulies, and I loved the character of Sarah, and that was the role I played, and it was perfect for me because it was right up my alley, and I was the right type and all that kind of stuff. And I loved the role, and I loved how ambiguous the role was in terms of how she viewed herself and how others viewed her. But what I loved most about the play was the moral questions that it puts to the audience around what is acceptable in the world of journalism, right? And the central question that it asks is basically, if you are recording something tragic or recording something unjust, You know, your job as a journalist is literally to just record it and share it with the world so that others can know. But do you have a moral obligation to intervene in some way? And are you, at the end of the day, just some sort of kind of voyeur because you're not actually changing anything? You're not doing anything, right? So, so I would say, as far as, you know, whether I'm drawn to a play or not, it is generally one of those two things. Does it ask an important question, right? Or is there a really interesting dynamic relationship between two characters? Okay, hope that answers your question. Hello, Veronica Samantha Lara. Hello, Claire O'Malley. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Okay, I'm going to refresh and see if there are other questions, because you know what I'm going to say. Time is our most valuable and non-renewable resource, so I don't want to waste yours. Evan, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. Cody, have I ever worked in the New Mexico market? I have not. Man alive. I have auditioned about 50 bazillion times. In fact, this is how old I am. I auditioned for the pilot for Breaking Bad, and that scene actually never, and that character never ended up in the pilot, so they rewrote it, and so, you know, it was fine. But it was very funny because I remember reading the pilot and going, this is so weird. This is never gonna work. And of course, it became this cultural zeitgeist, right? So shows what I know. Anyway, but no, I've auditioned a million times for the New Mexico market. I've not actually worked there yet, though. But it's amazing. You know, there's extraordinary work being done there, so I would love to work there. Okay. Do I recommend reading scripts or plays? Probably both. Okay. Well, when I say script, let me just be clear. I mean television, films, or plays, okay? Great storytelling is great storytelling. Great character rendering is great character rendering. Here's the thing. If you read scripts for television, you will be better at reading scripts for television. If you read scripts for films, you will be better at reading scripts for films. If you read scripts for plays, you will get better at reading scripts for plays. What they all have in common is that you understand, you start to see how to look at what's really going on beneath the dialogue, because the dialogue is rarely about what's really happening. In pockets, yes, but there's always, and we really dove into this last night in my Tuesday night class, because we did a scene that on the surface was very bland and kind of mild and innocuous, but there was a ton going on, but we had to kind of dig to find it, right? So anything that is dialogue driven, whether it's television, film, or a play, you're going to become more adept at looking beneath the surface. But I would say read all three, right? Because some of the greatest storytelling is in the world of theater, and sometimes it gets made into film, which is fantastic. But if you're primarily looking at being a film and theater actor, then you need to be facile at reading and understanding how to break down those scripts and understanding how to make sense of, there's a map there, you guys. So it's a little like trying to find treasure. There is a map there, but you've got to understand cartography in order to use the map to get the gold. Does that make sense? God, that's a really good analogy. Oh my God, I'm kind of happy with myself. Okay. Hi, Ty. I'm so happy to see you here. Ty, I have to tell you, I'm so hooked on Versailles. You were absolutely right. And I totally understand why you can't decide between Marcel and Philip as your favorites, because they're amazing, both of them. I feel like Marcel plays it more close to the vest, but Philip, like, we can see everything he's going through. So they're both fascinating performances. So yeah, y'all, if you haven't watched it, Versailles. Now there's too much nakedness, really. It's all gratuitous and it's all female, so that's a little annoying. So some of you might really be happy about that. But apparently that was quite a complaint in the fan base. But the acting is extraordinary because, of course, they're British, and the British, let's face it, they're just superior. Okay, guys, I think that's all the questions I have today. So let me just scroll back through to see if I missed anything, because I don't want to miss anything. And I hate to do this on my phone, so, but I have to. I have to, because I just have such better reception on my phone. It's not reception, but yeah. Yeah. Unrelated question. I'm glad you agree with me, Todd. Ty. Unrelated question. I came across something asking for contemporary monologues. What exactly defines a contemporary monologue? That's really such a great question. In fact, I had somebody ask me because they were asked about a contemporary song for a musical audition. I would say contemporary would probably be anything post Tennessee Williams, post Arthur Miller. Generally, contemporary versus classical means probably nothing before the 20th century, right? But if they're asking for a contemporary monologue, I would stick with something maybe 70s or later, you know? You want to, if possible, avoid whatever the hit play was just last season on Broadway, okay? Which sadly is not going to be an issue this year. But you know, there's always the breakout play, and there's always the Tony winner, and there's always the Tony buzz. And so, you know, I remember when the Vagina monologues first hit the scene, apparently every actress was doing something from the Vagina monologues, and so every auditor wanted to poke their own eye out, right? So, so yeah, that's probably what I would use as your guideline. You know, does it sound like something that we would say today, right? So if you're looking, and I'm assuming you're talking about theater, but you know, if you were looking at film, you know, and you were looking at, you know, George Bailey's script from, you know, It's a Wonderful Life. Oh, yes, and you have moonbeams coming out of your hair, you know, and you're doing that voice, you know. Like, I wouldn't consider that contemporary, right? So, yeah. And that was a terrible Jimmy Stewart imitation. I do much better at the, you know, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. That's right. That's right. Refrigerator monologue. Yeah, so Joe Grasaffi is obsessed with doing this refrigerator monologue from Wet Hot American Summer. So Joe, I say go for it. Do it. And sometimes you can, if you're looking for a film or television monologue, sometimes you can find a good monologue if you just happen to be watching a television show like NCIS or SI, however you say it, and you find a really good monologue and you're like, oh shit, that's great. And you just stop and you rewind and you just transcribe it. So yeah. Yeah, last few decades, I would say. Yeah, I think I generally say like last 30 years is probably good. But, you know, there's great stuff from the 80s, and technically that's no longer the last 30 years. So yeah, I'll say 70s or later. Yeah. Yes. Paul Rudd's mirror monologue from Wanderlust. Yes. That is the funniest, most foul thing I've probably ever seen. But you saw my reaction. It is funny as freaking hell. Anyway, you guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. If there are no more questions, I'm going to, you know, do my little sign off where I say, hey, you know, if you like this video, why don't you subscribe to my YouTube channel? I have lots of videos, and I forget to announce them because sometimes I just upload content. You know, so if you are subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll get all the videos and you'll get a notice when they go live, right? And I have a lot of content on there that's really helpful for actors, and it's just tips and just things I've learned over the years that I want to share with you. And also, if you go to my website, www.sarahgaston.com, I have fixed my subscribe page. So if you go to Sarah Gaston Studio, there's a tab where you can subscribe to my email list, and they're just things that I share on my email list that I don't share anywhere else. And again, it's all to support you. It's all to stay connected to you. This is a tough time for everyone, and we're not getting the nourishment that we need, I think, from being a part of our creative community, because we're so cut off because of COVID. So this is really just for you guys so that we can just stay connected and just remind ourselves of why we do this thing that we love to do, even if you're just a fan, right? Even if you're just a fan, and there's nothing wrong with fans, believe me. I mean, we need people to witness the stories that we tell. But again, always feel free to drop me a comment during the week and just say, hey, next time can you address XYZ, and I'm happy to do it. And guys, just on a final note, don't die with your music still in you, right? If there's something inside you that needs to be expressed, whether it's through music or comedy or film or theater, just do it. Just do it. Dean Graziosi talks about a technique that he uses where he imagines, he's died and he's gone to heaven and he meets his maker, and he says, so what was it like? God says, what was it like? And he says, oh, I had an okay life. I mean, it was fine. It was good. And God or his maker, whoever that is for you, says, oh, okay, you're one of those. Okay, go ahead. Right? Because, I believe personally that we're all given a longing for something on purpose. And that if we feel that longing to express ourselves in some way or to pursue something, then it's embedded in our DNA to do so, and then we should pursue it with everything we've got. Anyway, that's my personal belief. Your mileage may vary. Okay, love you guys. Take care. I don't know how to make it stop. I'm so